I'm Nancy Rathbun. Thank you for purchasing our Festive Tulips Block of the Month. We're doing block 6 today, which is a fun block with lots of flying geese. So I'm going to demonstrate how the block is sewn together. First step is to take your tiny tulips block and you're going to put 2 of your small squares on each corner, and you're going to stitch diagonally from corner to corner on each square. You can mark this if this makes it easier for you, but these are pretty small pieces. Then what you'll do is you're going to trim these 1/4 inch from each stitching line. Okay, so that you're going to trim off those little triangle under pieces. And then this is going to be finger pressed towards the background. So after you've done this step, then you're going to sew 2 more diagonal squares, and you're going to stitch them the same way you did the first one. The only difference is that you've got these other triangle bits that you're sewing over.
This one.
So now I've done my other 2 diagonal stitching lines, and I'm going to trim those triangles off also. And those will be pressed out as well. So what I've done is a little square in a square, and this should measure 2.5 inches. We'll set that aside. The next step is making all of the little flying geese blocks, and they will all be sewn the same way. So you're going to take one of the rectangles and then a background piece, and you'll sew from diagonal corner to corner, and then you'll trim that and finger press that open. And then you'll do the other side, taking another square and sewing from corner to corner. That's sewn, and I will trim that and finger press that open also. So you're going to have 4 of these. You're going to do the same thing with your green 2, and that's going to make up all of your little flying geese blocks. The next step is going to be to take your larger squares. You're going to have your larger green 2 square and then a background square, and you'll draw a line from corner to corner. This time, instead of sewing on that line, you're going to sew 1/4 inch from each side of the line, and then you will cut on the line that you marked. So that will give you 2 half square triangles. These are going to be pressed to the dark green. And you'll just finger press all of these. We don't want to warp any of our pieces. So you'll have 4 green and 2 and background half square triangles. Now we're ready to sew our flying geese blocks together. You'll do this just by stitching one of your green 2 flying geese to the top of one of your tiny tulips. So when you're finished, this should measure 2.5 inch square. So the green 2 just gets sewn right on top of your other flying geese block. So your piece will look just like this, a 2.5 inch square. I'm going to sew those together, and then we'll be ready to sew our small center square. So now that you have your flying geese blocks sewn together, we're going to make our center block. So you'll do this by sewing one of those half square triangles to either side of your flying geese unit, just like this here. So these will make up the top and bottom rows of our block. We'll have our center square that we made in the middle, followed by 2 more of our flying geese units on either side of the block. So there's our center row sewn together. Now I'm ready to sew all of these units together. Be careful not to blunt any of the tips of these as you're sewing them. And there's your center block all sewn together. The next units we're going to be sewing together are the units that go around your block. So you're going to take one of your green 1 triangles and your long rectangles of your background. And you're going to position this right on the corner here of your green rectangle. And if it's easier for you, you can mark a line. And what we're doing is we're marking a diagonal line from the corner of the under green triangle to the corner of where that background meets here. Just like that. Now you're going to sew right on this line. Same as we did before, we'll trim this excess triangle here and finger press this. So you can see here that it makes a diagonal line and it makes a longer piece than just a short square for the flying triangles, the flying geese. We're going to do the same thing to the opposite side. Open, and after you've trimmed it, you get a really long flying geese unit. You're going to make 4 of these.
Pause it.
2 of these units, you will sew one of your warm 1 squares on each end. So you'll do that to 2 of them. The other 2 will be sewn on either side of your center unit. So you'll sew one of these on either side, and then we'll have these units for the top and the bottom. And that will complete our star block without the star points around it. So now I have those long flying geese units sewn to either side, and now I'm ready to sew the top and bottom sections together with those corner squares. So there's my block 6. All I need to do is sew my star points all the way around the outside, and this block will be complete. Thank you for watching our demonstration of Festive Tulips Block 6. Stay tuned for month 7.